It is October the 10th, 2022. You are listening to the voice of a righteous woman. I identify as special prosecutor for the King of Kings. I'm making a public service announcement, and I am addressing those who pretend to be the BC NDP. Now, I've been busy over the weekend providing instructions and notifications to a number of different agencies in British Columbia pertaining to the changes that are going to be made before the next payment cycle, which I believe is on the 26th of October, for clients unfortunate enough to be trying to live off of what they're provided from the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction. Now, I've just come on Twitter because I'm going to be using my tweets to create this public service announcement. And I have a notification here. A nice job. Your tweet has been noticed, is getting noticed, and has been viewed 33 times. Now, I don't know if that's a joke or not. I don't know if you understand numbers. I don't know if you understand the occult. Number 33 times? Are you kidding me? Oh my God. Okay, so let's see here. So what's happening is I have provided instructions to Nicholas Simmons, who pretends to be the head of the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction. Now, Mr. Simmons seems to be ignoring me, as is this female human, Selena Robinson. So I'm not going to be disrespected that way, because this ministry and the persons acting as the Ministry of Finance are one of the myriad of reasons why I was forced into prostitution against my will after my private property was stolen by way of application and title fraud, and then close to $1 million was embezzled, which was my inheritance. So let's see here what I've had to say. But before I do that, I'm going to remind the public servants acting in any capacity as the province of British Columbia and as the federal government of Canada, the Act for the Preservation and Enhancement of Multiculturalism in Canada, because I belong to an identifiable group, and that identifiable group is hated by this world. That identifiable group is constantly being targeted and being murdered. So this act starts off talking about the Constitution of Canada and that every individual is equal before and under the law and has the right to equal protection and benefit of the law without discrimination. Apparently, I have the right to peaceful assembly and association, and this Multiculturalism Act guarantees those rights and freedoms equally to all of my peculiar people. Apparently, the Canadian Constitution recognizes the importance of preserving and enhancing the multicultural heritage of those unfortunate enough to live in the Commonwealth. Well, I don't identify as a citizen, so I'm not going to use the Citizenship Act. I identify as a human because I'm not a human. A human is legally defined as a monster. I have Rh negative blood proving that I'm not from this world, and I'm not. So I'm not going to use that garbage. And then it goes on to talk about Canada being a party to the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, a convention which recognizes that all are equal before the law and are entitled to equal protection of the law against any discrimination and against any incitement to discrimination, and to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, a covenant providing that my people, because we belong to an ethnic and linguistic minority, shall not be denied the right to enjoy our own culture or to use our own language. And then, in the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, it talks about in Article 5 that all the public servants that I deal with are to prohibit and to eliminate racial discrimination in all its forms and to guarantee the right of everyone in my people, without distinction or ethnic origin, to equality before the law, notably in the enjoyment of the following rights: right to equal treatment before tribunals and all other organs administering justice, the right to security and protection by public servants, whether federal or provincial, against violence or bodily harm, whether inflicted by government officials or in any individual or by any individual group or institution. Part C, and you better pay attention to this part, those of you who are pretending to be the BCNDP, because I'm about to take over some of these ministries, because I have every right to do so. And I can see that you don't know what you're doing, and I see that you're murderers, thieves, and destroyers by the way you treat your neighbors. So according to Part C here, I have the right to take part in this fiction pretending to be a government, as well as in the conduct of public affairs at any level, and to have equal access to public service. You better pay attention to that, because you're bound by that. You're bound by that law. You're bound by that rule. Do you understand me? Have you read Part D, the other civil rights belonging to my peculiar people? Have you read that I have the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association? So your silence is an egregious act of violence against me, those of you who are pretending to be, in any capacity, the BCNDP. So here's what I've done. I've tweeted, because I have to take to social media. That's my job. And that's how these individuals, these persons want to be dealt with. They want you to go onto social media because they don't actually want to deal with you because they're cowards. And by the way, the first group to enter hell are the cowards. So Section 380 of the Criminal Code of Canada talks about fraud. So public servants, John Horgan, Nicholas Simmons, Selena Robinson, I'm going to have to take you before a justice of the peace for fraud, mischief, and torture committed against social development and poverty reduction clients if you refuse to follow the directives I provided for you in September. That's where we're going, if you don't do everything I tell you to do. Now, ignorance of the law is no excuse, by the way, for you not following the law. So you're guilty of mischief. The life of another, the life of your neighbor, is property. So if you don't understand that, then you can't act as a minister. You can't act as a public service if you don't understand. So the punishment for mischief causing actual danger to life, which is what you're doing by not providing for the necessaries of life for those around you, while you're hoarding billions of dollars, which is a mental illness, which is what I've explained to you, the sentence is imprisonment for life, and that's exactly where you're going to go, and I'm going to send you there, because there's not going to be any lies or injustice in my courtroom. This is the King's Common Law High Court. It's the highest court in the world. There's not a court on this fucking flat plane that has jurisdiction over the King's Common Law High Court. And I'm an expert in the law. I'm an expert in justice. So you're committing torture. John Horgan, Nicholas Simmons, and you, Selena Robinson, are every day, all day, committing torture against your neighbors. Against your poor neighbors. So let me read it to you. I don't care if you don't get it. It's actually prophesied that in Daniel 12:10, the wicked understand nothing. So if you're going to continue to identify yourselves as the wicked, I'm going to come at you like a freight train. I'm going to come at you like a fucking freight train. I will not allow you to grind the faces of the poor into the ground because you don't understand what is good, right, and just. So you folks pretending to be public servants, you're inflicting torture on others, and you're guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment. And then on top of everything else that you're doing. So here's information that they're supposed to understand and know and follow, these public servants. So they're, by refusing to provide the necessity, excuse me, I'm outraged every day, all day. Because I'm paying attention. Are you paying attention? Because I'm not part of the problem down here, I'm part of the solution. So that's why I have to say something, because I'm not going to have these male and female humans legally defined as monsters. I'm not going to have their blood on my hands. I'm not. I have to say something. That's the law. It's my job to say something if I know something is going on that's wrong and evil. And if it's wrong and evil, then it's not good. And it's only one or the other. So according to Section 12 of the Constitution of Rights and Freedoms, the Canadian Constitution of Rights and Freedoms, Section 12, they're talking about binding on all public servants. Articles 7, 8, and 10 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. They're talking about Articles 1, 2, and 16 of the Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhumane, or Degrading Treatment or Punishment. They're talking about Article 37 on the Convention on the Rights of the Child. They're talking about Article 15 of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. They're talking about Article, looks like 26. Excuse me if I'm reading that wrong or misinterpreting what that says. Of the American Declaration of the Rights and Duties of Man. Well, you're going to have to prove that you're a man, because only arch-negative righteous men and women could be standing under that status. And they're talking about Articles 7 and 8 of the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, which, by the way, is supposed to have jurisdiction here in the Commonwealth countries. So what I did was, over the weekend, because I recorded a public service announcement to go along with the document that I wrote, I've had to go in. Now, all of these persons who have been tagged in these tweets, if you can see this here, are supposed to have something to do with serving the public, and yet I can guarantee you they're only interested in serving themselves, which is narcissism. It's a mental illness. All these individuals are displaying a mental illness called antisocial personality disorder, which is the disregard for the rights of others around you. And yet all of these individuals are being paid, handsomely, by the way, a lot of them 6 figures a year, as public servants, and yet they have nothing to do with social development, and they have nothing to do with poverty reduction. And yet you have a ministry in this province pretending to be all about social development and poverty reduction, yet you do the exact opposite. So what kind of fucking sick is that I'm dealing with? Because I'm not going to deal with it anymore, and I'm going to change it. Or because I have to. That's my training. That's why I'm ordained and trained by the one who sent me down from above, to speak the truth to those not of the truth. So they're hoarding billions of dollars. They've got like $7 billion they're hoarding. Those who pretend to be the BCNDP, those who pretend to be politicians, politics, poly meaning many, ticks meaning blood-sucking creatures. And yet, well, you should see what I discovered. It didn't take me very long to do the document that I wrote. And so these are all of the either public servants or agencies in British Columbia. This is just a few of them that I went and I notified that there's going to be sweeping changes made. And I mean like right now. Like it's going to happen before the next payment cycle, because I'm not going to continue to put up with this. There's just no fucking way. There's just no way. I'm not having it. I'm not having it on my watch, and I'm not going to have it on the King's watch. You know, that's why I'm here. So, because there's a constant problem, right? And so here's what I need them to know. So enough evil doing from those who pretend to be the BCNDP, the BC Liberals, and BC Greens, which all of them are a fiction, by the way. It's all falsehood. Now, as a righteous woman, I hate falsehood. I hate it because I know it's got nothing to do with the truth. Nothing to do with the truth. So, private prosecutions in Canada, the role of the prosecutor, whether public or private, is a very special one in any system of criminal justice. This paper is concerned with an examination of the powers and obligations of the private prosecutor in Canada and with assessing the viability of retaining such a role in the light of modern judicial developments. For the purposes of this study, a private prosecutor is taken to be an individual, a group, or a corporation, other than a alleged public authority not acting in any public capacity. Although theoretically most prosecutions are, quote, private in the sense that they are pursued by various public officers, you better listen to this, who have no powers beyond those of the private citizen. They are not private prosecutions in the sense of the term as used here. So these things, these persons, these male and female humans legally defined as monsters who parade around British Columbia pretending to be an attorney general, they have no power and no authority. They don't. And they're constantly doing evil because they're children of the devil. Are you not paying attention? Are you not reading the news? Because I am. I am. And so I have an obligation, duty, and responsibility to hold these BC NDP persons who are doing the opposite of the ministries they're in charge of to account according to the Criminal Code of Canada. And that's just the way that has to be. Because why? So BC's home to Canada's second highest poverty rate. Now, why would that be? Because you have the children of the devil in places they should never be. That's why. That's why this is why this is called the Wicked West. The Wicked West. Yeah, I'm afraid so. So the reason why BC has the worst poverty rates in Canada, it's not. Listen, this this private for-profit corporation called the Province of British Columbia, it's a Ponzi scheme. It's a scam. It's a criminal organization. It's RICO. Racketeering, influence, corrupt organization. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Listen, I'm a woman of truth. The only thing you're going to be hearing coming out of my mouth at all material times is the truth. Do you understand? So, you know what the reason that is? The lack of social spending. They're hoarding billions of dollars, but BC has the worst poverty rate in Canada. You should be ashamed of yourselves. But I know that the wicked don't, the wicked don't show no shame, right? Because it was a thread that I created. If you refuse to listen to the cry of the poor, your own cry for help will not be heard. Now, I'm not sure if you understand my native language, but every single individual and person has their name and their life written in the scriptures. They do. That's just the way that works. So I have an obligation. Excuse me here. So according to the law of the living, Leviticus 5:1, whoever is aware of evidence in any matter must speak up and testify. Spoken differently, so you can hopefully understand. Do not fail to report evil by wrongdoers, not following common law, or testify in an investigation against those who refuse the common law. Now, the common law, for those of you who are unlearned, the way, the truth, and the life, which sits on the witness box of every Commonwealth courtroom, by the way. That's what's sitting there on that witness box. That law, those laws, apply to both the righteous and the wicked. And in the King's Common Law High Court, the judge is not permitted to provide their opinion. There is no opinion in the King's Common Law High Court. There's no injustice in the King's Common Law High Court either. The rich, and there's no coincidence that rich rhymes with witch. Rich is almost identical to witch, because the rich are witches. For those of you who don't understand what a witch is, that's how they get rich, because they're witches. So they don't get special treatment in the King's Common Law High Court. If you've committed a crime and you're doing wrong, I'm going to hold you accountable, and you are going to go to jail. You're going to jail. So I'm either dealing with one of the righteous or one of the wicked. No, I'm one of the righteous. I'm a righteous woman. That's who I am. There's thousands of different methods of proof I could prove that to you with. I don't have time for that right now. This is a public service announcement. I got to get through this. But what you should know about the wicked is they are identified throughout my native language. Now, it has become clear to me that Nicholas Simmons, Selena Robinson, and John Horgan, all three of them are wicked. All three of them are useless. Because how is it that BC has the worst poverty rate when there's billions of dollars being hoarded? And that female human, identified as Selena Robinson, is holding the purse strings for the private for-profit corporation, RICO, province of British Columbia. Because what we know from the words of truth, that in Jeremiah 13:10, in Ezekiel 15:6, and in Hosea 7:16, it has been prophesied that the wicked are useless. It has been prophesied by my brother Daniel in 12:10 that the wicked understand nothing. The wicked are blind. The wicked are deaf. They're only interested in themselves. It's a narcissistic personality. Child of the devil. Now, my job as a chosen prosecutor, so when you read through your scriptures, and you better be reading them every day, that's what you've been commanded to do, to drink the living waters and eat the bread of life every day, so you have some type of understanding and maybe a hope of not entering eternal hell, which most of you are here on your way there. You've identified yourselves as weeds, right? Don't do that. The king's eyes are everywhere, and his ears are open all the time. He don't sleep. So we're referred to throughout the scriptures as prophets. That's basically a mistranslation. We're actually prosecutors for the King of Kings. In the King's Common Law High Court, the judge sits there, the King of Kings, and then one of his Levite priests sits beside him. That's why in every generation, a Levite man or a Levite woman is a witness to the wickedness of that generation. That's who I happen to be. Would you like some proof? Fucking awesome, because that's all I got for you. I can prove to you all day long who I am and what I am. And your opinion is never going to be relevant, by the way. The truth is not an opinion, for those of you who are just maybe listening to me for the first time. For those of you who are listening to me repeatedly, you're going to hear me repeat myself, because the truth is not going to change. So as a trained, ordained, chosen prosecutor for the judge, the King of Kings, it's my job to open my mouth, to judge righteously, and to defend the cause of the poor and the needy. That's why I'm about to change this criminal organization trying to pass itself off as a ministry of social development and poverty reduction. Mr. Simmons, what do you do all day? You're making a 6-figure income every year, and you have been since what? For well over a decade. You've been making a 6-figure income every year, plus you're being given handsome raises every single year. So what do you do all day in the way of social development and poverty reduction? Well, you're going to answer the question because I'm asking you a question. And if you can't answer a simple question, you're no longer acting as the minister for that ministry. Do you understand me? So the way persons acting as the BCNDP are treating others, namely the poor, is scandalous, vexatious, and frivolous. You're hoarding billions of dollars. What the fuck is the problem? You've got all these fucking offices, all these advocates who are absolutely vile. Vile. And nothing ever changes, and things get worse and worse and worse every single day for the poor. You know how many times I've been attacked by a social worker for that ministry? Repeatedly, I've been attacked by a social worker for that ministry when I pick up the telephone and I might need some help. So much so that I now record all the calls for quality assurance and training purposes. So I, one of the living peculiar people, I don't associate with the dead. Go read the rules in the first 5 books of the Bible about the rules for Levitical priests in your community. We're not permitted to be around the dead. The wicked are dead. The wicked are already dead. That's why they're zombies. That's why their eyes are blind and their ears are deaf. They're dead. The spawn of Belial, right, are useless. As I explained in Jeremiah 13:10, Ezekiel 15:6, and Hosea 7:16. Go look it up. And then study the cross-references. I, as special prosecutor, convening the King's Common Law High Court to hold Nicholas Simmons, Selena Robinson, and John Horgan and other evildoers to account, I do not allow the dead to fill the tables of my court, the King's Common Law High Court, with their vomit. The only thing coming out of the mouth of a liar is vomit. I know I've been poisoned to death by these liars who've committed repeated acts of genocide, first against myself and my son, and now they've done the same thing to me and my spouse. So all liars, aka bar members, are identified in Isaiah 28, verse 8, Proverbs 26:11, Jeremiah 48 and 26 as arrogant spewers of falsehood and workers of injustice, which is why my brother, also a prosecutor for the King of Kings, speaks destruction, speaks curses, speaks damnation upon all bar members. Luke 11:46, 11:52, and Matthew 23:13. Do you understand me? Do I got to go into this? Seriously? So do you understand what's going to happen to you? Like you're seriously going to go to jail. So here's what's happening. Because the crimes you're committing are so outrageous and so egregious against the poor, and clearly you don't care about anybody but yourselves, and because all the rules that I've read to you proclaim my right to access all organs administering justice to do my job peacefully without violence leveled against me, you better believe that what happens is the criminal charges are laid, because I have nothing but proof against you, persons acting as the BCNDP. So the criminal charges are laid, and then the matter moves right to sentencing, because these are straight indictable offenses. These are serious criminal offenses according to your own fucking legal rules. So if you're not going to follow the legal rules and you're not going to follow the laws of the living, of the way, the truth, and the life, what laws are you supposed to be following? You're just completely fucking lawless? You only care about yourselves and your own greedy trough of whatever it is that you think might have value? Like your no-value house and your no-value clothes and your no-value cars and your no-value opinion? It gets worse and worse every day for the poor because these things pretending to be public servants don't care, because no one's holding them to account. So that's my job. It's my job to hold them to account. And it's your job to stand beside me to hold them to account if you're one of the righteous. If you're one of the wicked, you just go fuck off. You go fuck off and you go worship Satan, because that's what you're doing all day, every day. You have no value, you have no hope, and you have absolutely no future. You get me? So in Jeremiah 9:3, they, referring to bankers, bar members, and politicians and priests, use their tongues like a bow. They shoot lies from their mouths like arrows. Lies, not truth, have grown strong in the land. They go from one evil thing to another. They do not know who I am, declares the one who sent me here from above. Yeah, this is the first level of hell, for those of you who don't understand. This is level 1 of hell. Then there's 6 other levels underneath this level. And all these politicians are on their way there. So what I've asked you to do is not difficult at all. Fuck, do I gotta go into it? Because the wicked don't understand anything. Now, we're not going to listen to this. I created a public service announcement 11 days ago. And what I have to do is I have to put the documents pertaining to the public service announcement in the description box so they can open it up. Now, this PSA has only been listened to 19 times because all these agencies in British Columbia that are supposed to advocate for the poor, they don't, and they don't care that nothing changes because they're all getting paid. And that's by a way, I mean, how much money is wasted? How much financial resources are wasted on all these useless agencies and these useless public servants who couldn't shove a straight stick up a dead dog's ass? You know what I mean? And how arrogant are you to give yourselves a fictional title that doesn't even belong to you, pertaining to your provable conduct of hatred towards the poor? So if you don't understand the cost of living in British Columbia, for one individual, it's $2,000 a month, and I don't care where you live. And that doesn't include entertainment, it doesn't include clothing, it doesn't include trips to the dentist or any type of medication. Or what about if something happens and there's an emergency? What if there's an emergency and you need, where do you go? Well, you don't go to the Rico province of British Columbia because they're just going to grind your face they're going to grind your face into the ground and they're going to torture you. Because that's the cream stroke for these public servants. They get off on abusing others. That's what happens when you have the spawn of Satan everywhere. Yep, so they're fucking making $64 billion. The province of British Columbia. Private for-profit corporation, by the way. It's got nothing to do with serving the public. Nothing. They're there to steal from the public. They're there to murder the public. They're there to destroy the public. They're not there to help you at all, man. When are you going to wake up? When are you going to fucking pull your head out of your ass? Because you need to do it now. Your silence is violence. According to the law that I'm teaching you, and I'm going to teach it to you all the time, I'm going to keep shoving it down your throats until you fucking choke on it. If necessary. You are going to do every fucking thing I tell you to do, and you're going to do it before the next payment cycle. Now, you got all these reporters reporting all of this blah, 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 blah. That's where this comes from. Billions are going unspent. Billions are going unspent. Hoarding's a mental illness. They create TV shows about it. About the mentally ill and their issues with hoarding. It's a mental fucking illness. So, of course, I have to be prepared when I do a PSA because I have to teach you the truth, do I not? I have to wake you up. I have to open up your eyes and unstop your deaf ears. I have to take the shit out of your ears. That's why you're deaf. So, a middle-class income in Canada is like $60,000 for middle class. And at that, you're just getting by. So if you don't understand about the different species down here, well, luckily for you, I'm an educator. I'm a trained educator in the truth. There's a reason why I have Rh negative blood. There's a reason why I have that information. There's a reason why that all over the place, there's information pertaining to Rh negative blood and Rh positive blood. Now, I've taught that lesson in a PSA I created in September. If you go into my YouTube videos and you look in the description box, those teachings of truth are located there for those of you who are interested in the truth. Those of you who are not interested in the truth, fuck off. Go fuck yourselves. What value do you possibly have? You've made a covenant with hell and death, if that's what you're all about. Monkey blood, man. Rh positives. Humans. Legally defined as a monster. Coincidence? No such thing. No such thing. So what I did as a righteous woman who understands everything, a woman of sound counsel, who provides counseling to the wicked, so their blood is off my hands. I'm not going to have fucking monkey blood on my hands. I'm not going to have the blood of the wicked on my hands. That's not going to happen on my watch. So I took $35,000 and I divided it over 12 months. And that's why, effective immediately, BC Social Development and Poverty Reduction, that public service is now going to provide that amount every month to their clients who are designated as persons with disabilities. And you're going to do it before the next payment cycle. It's still living in poverty. It's still not okay. Are you not reading the tweets? Because I am. I'm listening. I'm the one on the street. I'm the one standing in the food bank lineups. I'm listening. I'm paying attention because I care about what's happening to my neighbor. Unlike the wicked who don't give a flying fuck about anything or anyone but themselves and their sick little fucking Walking Dead lives and world. So there's about a $400 difference between a regular client who might need some help from this ministry and the persons designated as those that are disabled. Right, here's, and I explained to them in the last PSA that Canadian pension plan, that's a trust fund. The individual who has decided to utilize that trust fund pays their income into that trust fund. It's only income once. It's only income once. Once that income is paid into that trust fund, and then the individuals who have access and benefit of that trust fund, when they go and access those necessaries of life, it is not income. It's a benefit. It's an inheritance. And you're going to take that off of these monthly reports. Do you understand? Because if you're one of the wicked, nope, there's just no fucking way anything I'm going to say to you is ever going to sway you. Them blind eyes are going to remain blind, and them deaf ears are going to remain deaf. Compulsive liars born to be fuel for the fire. That's just the way it works. So you can't be a public servant if that's who you are, and that's how you continue to identify yourself. So that's why I've made the changes. I have every right, according to the international covenant on eliminating racial discrimination, because even the circus monkeys understand that there is a race here on this planet who understands what's good, right, and just. And that's why I have the right to be involved in every level of the satanic cult pretending to be the government of British Columbia. That's why that's written there. There's no coincidence that that's written there. So that's why regular clients are going to receive about $2,500 a month. Because there are billions of dollars sitting there. What the fuck is the problem? What the fuck is the problem? There is no problem. Just fucking do it. When you sewer rats took yourselves a $20,000 increase in your fucking pay on April the 1st, how long did it take you to figure that out? Did you have to go around and around and around and around in your fucking monkey minds? Month after fucking month to figure that out? No, you didn't. You went to the fucking trough and you each took a $20,000 a year pay increase. And you got it April the 1st to offset the inflation that's happening. Did you ask anybody if that was okay? No, of course not, because we don't care what anybody else thinks. We do what we want because we're arrogant ape abominations. So every single month, this year alone, I have had over $500 stolen from me by a ministry who is grinding my face into the ground. And most of the time when I call and I need some help, it's fucking World War fucking III. I'm talking to an absolute fucking idiot when I call up that ministry. 95% of the time. The last couple of times, there's been a social worker who has assisted me, who is worthy to be a social worker. I believe his name is Matthew. He was kind. He was empathetic. He cared about what was happening to me. And he helped me without me having to jump through a million fucking hoops. It's enough. Enough is enough. You are going to seize a social worker to a client. If you're worried about fucking fraud, then you need to start to get to know the clients. And the only way you can do that is to seize a social worker to a client. You need to care about these persons. I don't care if they're animals. And the ones who are on the road to self-destruction, it's not going to matter how much money you give them, they're still going to end up destroying themselves. That's just the way that's going to go. But you will provide the necessaries of life for those around you. And you will do it in my direction. If you continue to piss me off, I'm going to fucking come at you like you've never seen a woman come at you. You will fucking self-combust at the level of rage you will experience if you continue to refuse to do what I tell you to do. Just fucking do it. And if you can't call up the persons who program the computers for the ministry, then you give me their number and I'll do your fucking job for you. Nicholas Simmons, Selena Robinson. I wouldn't pay any of you a fucking dime for what you do. You better get through your fucking heads that the righteous hate the wicked, and the wicked hate the righteous. And it does nobody any good for the righteous to show mercy to the wicked. They will still not learn righteousness. Go in and read your scriptures. It's the river of living water. It's the bread of life. And everybody's name and everybody's life is written in that book. So you better get in there. Because you're either a goat or a sheep. You're either a child of Belial or you're a child of the Most High Living One. Now those are the minority. There's not many of us here. But we're here to turn this fucking shit and flip it upside down and turn it right side up. That's my job as a righteous woman. And you have no idea the fucking hell that I've had to go through. And you will hear my voice. And you will follow my instructions. I'm not going to tell you again. I'm not going to come on and tell you one more fucking time to do what I told you to do. It's now the 10th of October. The next payment schedule is supposed to be the 26th of October. That's plenty of time to go in and make those changes. And you don't need to announce those changes to anybody. Just do it. So these persons can enjoy their lives. They have a right to enjoy their lives. And there's other international laws that I probably should have grabbed and had in front of me here. So I could teach you that too. You're going to listen and you're going to do it, or I'm not joking, you're going to jail. Nicholas Simmons, you're going to go to jail. Selena Robinson, you're going to go to jail. John Horrigan, you definitely need to go to jail. You're disgusting. Seriously. You have serious mental health issues. Sewer rats, basically, huh? Monsters. With no hope and no future. I've never seen any one of you do the right thing. So I'll provide you sound counsel and instructions to do what's good, right, and just. You have to follow the law. You have to follow the law, and then you have to follow the legal rules as well. So that's 2 witnesses against you right there. And if I got 2 witnesses against you, you're fucking gonna go down like a sack of hammers. Do you understand? Do you? Selena Robinson, you're going to open up that fucking BCND purse nice and wide. You got billions of dollars sitting there. There's no fucking excuse. Mr. Simmons? Why do you hide behind somebody who picks up the phone for you? Should you and I have a conversation with each other? Because if you don't do what's right, I'm going to lay those criminal charges, and you're not going to have anybody speaking for you. You're going to defend yourself. You're a minister. You'll have to prove that you're capable of defending your actions yourself. There's no sewer rats. There's no bar members in the King's Common Law High Court. You're the accused. You will speak to what you're accused of yourself. Do you understand me? They call me Victoria. That's what they call me.